Today we're going to continue on our NHL deep dive series for the upcoming NHL Expansion Draft. Today we're looking at teams like the Vancouver Canucks, the Philadelphia Flyers, and the Winnipeg Jets. Who will they protect? Who will they expose? And what are they at risk to lose? We'll discuss that coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, today we're doing another deep dive analysis on 3 NHL teams ahead of the NHL Expansion Draft. We're analyzing the Vancouver Canucks, Philadelphia Flyers, and the Winnipeg Jets. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump onto the computer. We're going to go into capfriendly.com and utilize their Seattle mock draft tool that they have on their website, which is phenomenal. We'll go through the players that are on the roster, decide who they're likely going to protect, who they're going to expose, and what are they most at risk to lose. And if I feel they're going to make any trades or any kind of deals with Seattle, we'll also get into and discuss those options here as well. So let's jump onto the computer and we'll get things started here with the Vancouver Canucks. All right, so we're getting started here with the Vancouver Canucks. So before we jump into the Seattle Expansion Draft Simulator, we're going to take a look quickly here at their cap space. So right now, Vancouver has $15.8 million, which is sounds like a lot, but they have some big contracts to do this year, so it really isn't. They've got to sign some big RFAs like Pettersson and Quinn Hughes. As you can see here, they have some other UFAs as well. Some decisions to be made on guys like Alex Edler, Travis Hamonic. So they're going to need some more wiggle room here. Clearly, this team has a need for cap space. Now, they could be doing a buyout or two. Wouldn't be shocking if like Louis Eriksson or Jake Virtanen, for example, were bought out, but I would suspect that buyouts probably won't be too common until after the expansion draft, because they would be extra players that teams can expose and they can see if they can get rid of them for nothing here without doing a buyout. So obviously they could use some space. So let's take a look now at the roster over here at the protected list, and we'll determine what they're going to do. Obviously in goal, pretty simple. They're protecting Demko, exposing Holtby. On the blue line, of course, they have Edler's a UFA, Hamonic's a UFA. It's pretty easy decision here to make. Quinn Hughes is exempt. So they've got Myers, Schmidt, and Ulevy, as well as Madison Bowie that meet the criteria. So Bowie is definitely going to be the one that's exposed. There's no doubt in that case. Now, they do have some other UFAs here as well that could be brought back, like Chatfield or Rafferty. I'm not quite sure what their future exactly is going to hold here. And if one of them were signed, that could change things. It wouldn't be a complete shocker if they chose to expose Myers, given the fact that his contract would be a lot less likely to be selected by Seattle. Now, when it comes to Nate Schmidt, yes, they're looking to move on and make a trade, but they're not going to probably make Schmidt available here because they'd want to get something in return. So that's likely how things are going to be played out there. On the forward group, as I mentioned, Eriksson's definitely going to be exposed. They'll protect Horvat, Besser, and Miller, as well as Pearson. That's 4. Then you get Pettersson, and probably Mott and McEwen is my guess here for the last couple spots. I think they'll expose some of the older veterans like Beagle and Roussel. Virtanen will be there. Like I said, and if Virtanen's not selected, then maybe he is bought out. That's a real possibility here for the Vancouver Canucks. So to me, they're in decent shape. Vancouver's not a team that has too much to worry about, but they could be in need to go shopping for a goalie if Holtby is picked up. I know when they signed him, they purposely offered that extra year so that he could be available in case this was going to be an issue for them. They obviously want to make sure that Demko would not be the player selected in expansion. So Holtby's one option. I don't see them really taking a blue liner. If it's not Holtby, and it would have to be a forward unless they decide to go with Virtanen. Now, there's going to be lots of other goalies to pick from, so there's not going to be any shortage of good ones here. So I don't know for sure, but based on what's available here, given what Jake Virtanen has going on off the ice, and then you've got Beagle and Roussel, aging veterans, not really living up to those deals. You got Louis Eriksson at $6 million, Bowie, like, they're probably going to take Holtby, even though he may or may not stay with Seattle. It's difficult to say. He could be a player that's flipped because it depends on who else they end up selecting and who they keep, because, they're going to end up probably trading probably 6, 7, 8 players or whatever after the expansion draft, because they don't need 30 guys, depending on, unless they take a bunch of RFAs or young players they can put in the minors, which is probably, going to be a balance of both vets and young players. So to me, I think Holtby is the likely target, mainly due to lack of a better option. So the Vancouver Canucks are a team here that does not have to worry too much when it comes to losing anything too significant. But if they do lose Holtby, they could go to a guy like Michael DiPietro for the backup, or if they want to bring in a guy with more experience and let DiPietro have a full year in the minors, given how the last couple of years have gone, then they could go shopping via free agency or via trade and pick up, there's going to be a lot of veteran goalies that are going to be making, around $1 million, $1.5 million or something to that effect that could come in and, give them what hope he's providing at a cheaper cost. Now, before we jump on to the next team, I do want to pause for a moment here and acknowledge one of our channel sponsors, which is the Ultimate Fan. Are you the ultimate hockey fan that's looking for the ultimate accessory for your man cave, your fan cave, she shed, sports bar, or wherever you enjoy watching your hockey or other sports that you take in? I would call this an extremely cool NHL licensed product, and I highly recommend you check it out. There will be a link down below in the pinned comment if you're interested in looking at the website and considering making a purchase.
While cheering on your favorite NHL team with your own customized Ultimate Hockey ceiling fan. Choose from home, away, third jersey, wood, and vintage blade themes. Then select from 2 hockey-like fixture designs, our puck that illuminates your favorite team logo, or our 3D goalie mats. The Ultimate Hockey fan looks great in any kids' room, she shed, man cave, or sports bar. Not only do our fans cool your room, they make your room look cool. Order your custom fan today at ultimatehockeyfans.com.
So thanks very much for watching that promotional video. I greatly appreciate it. Let's dive back into today's content. Next up, we've got the Philadelphia Flyers. Now, looking at their cap space situation here, they have just over $13 million in cap space. Now, looking at what they have for players that need new deals, there's not a ton here. They do have to make some decisions in goal. I assume Carter Hart will likely be brought back on a bridge deal. After the year he had, it might not be as expensive as they thought it could be. Then, of course, they'll need a backup to him, whether it's Elliott or somebody else. Of course, Travis Sanheim needs a new deal. And then we got guys like Samuel Morin and Nolan Patrick as well, who could find themselves on the move as well. No guarantee those players are back. So really, they don't to get what they have on their own books signed, they don't necessarily need to free up a ton of money. But I know the Flyers are a team that had a disappointing season and are looking to make some changes. I know they want to add a top right shot defenseman, and they also could shake things up a bit with the forward group. So to me, they are likely going to be looking to move a big ticket item here if they can to make things easier to do some other things. So let's jump over back to the simulator here. All right, so here's the Flyers situation. Now, I don't see them going with an 8 skater situation. To me, they're going to go 7-3-1. Goal is going to be Hart. There's no doubt there. On the back end, pretty easy as well. I believe you're looking at Provorov, Sanheim, and Myers, and then that exposes Gossesbear as well as Braun and Hag. Obviously, one of those D-men could be the guy to go, but I think we're going to go in a different direction here. At the forward group, you got Giroux, Voracek, Hayes, JVR, Konechny, Couturier, Lindblom, Lawton. I mean, there's a lot of options here. You get Nolan Patrick. And as much as Nolan Patrick may not be a part of the team's future, I think they'd rather trade him than expose him. And then you get Morin as well. So to me, this is going to look a little different than I have it here on the screen. You're going to have Giroux. You're going to have Hayes because they have a no-move clause. But I believe Voracek is going to be exposed. And I wouldn't be shocked if they expose JVR either. So then you get Konechny and Couturier, Lindblom and Lawton. So that gives us 6 players. Then your 7th guy likely would be Patrick, so that they don't have to risk losing him for nothing. And then they can trade him in a different deal throughout the offseason. I think that's likely going to happen. It's been rumored to. I mean, many people believe he wants a fresh start. But putting out a couple of big contracts like JVR and Voracek is going to give Seattle some interesting choices. Now, there are some out there that believe that the Flyers might even make a side deal with the Kraken to take Jake Voracek off their hands at that $8.25 million he signed until 2024. Now, of course, remember, head coach in Seattle is Dave Haxtell, who his only other NHL head coaching experience came coaching the Philadelphia Flyers. So he's very familiar with a lot of these guys. A lot of them have been there quite a while. So there's certainly familiarity with guys like JVR and like Voracek. And Voracek actually had his best season under Haxtell as the head coach. So it's more likely with this team than others, I think, that we would see them consider taking, a bigger contract. I don't think they're going to take very many of them. I see Ron Francis being fairly conservative, building from the blue line out and not taking on a ton of money. They want to be flexible, at least in the first year. So, I mean, I know they said they can spend to the cap if they want to, like they have an ownership's blessing, but I don't know that they're going to want to go that road right off the bat here. Francis is the kind of guy who seems to want flexibility. So to me, if they can move Voracek, and that's the deal, even if they have to give up something else on the side to make Seattle want to do that, I'm not sure what that would take. I mean, they do have some prospects. I mean, Farabee's not a player that they would want to part with, but they might consider Morgan Frost. They might consider like Isaac Radcliffe, or they might consider, even maybe even a Cam York. You never know. Like they have some prospects here that would be intriguing to Seattle. I don't know what it would take. Maybe they add an extra draft pick. They have a young goalie, Samuel Ersson, Swedish goalie, who's a promising prospect there too. So to me, maybe they add a prospect and a pick or something, and they get them to take forecheck. That's my prediction how it's going to go, just based on the intel that's been floating around it there. Of course, no given that it happens, but it would be such a huge relief for the Flyers to shake things up. To me, they gives them enough money to go after either Seth Jones, Dougie Hamilton, or one of those top right shot D, and then of course they can get a different dynamic going here with this forward group. They've had the same group for a long time, and they're not getting any further ahead. So it is time that they shake things up here, in my opinion. Now, lastly, here we're going to look at the Winnipeg Jets. Now, the Jets, as you can see, have $20.5 million in available cap space heading into this offseason, but they do have a fair bit of expiring contracts. They have lots of forwards and blue liners, and they're going to have to decide on backup goalie Laurent Brossoit or replace him with a comparable type of contract. So on the blue line, you've got Ben, Forward, Stanley, Pullman, and Pionk all need new deals or need to be replaced. I would think Ben likely doesn't come back. Hard to say about the other ones. I think Pionk and Stanley definitely have a place in the future for sure. And up front, they need a new deal for Andrew Kopp. And then they have UFAs like Thompson, Perreault, Lewis, and Stastny. So that money might seem like a lot, but they could certainly, use some more flexibility. And they're going to need to make some upgrades if they really want to, be considered more of a contender again, like they were a few years ago. So let's jump over to the expansion draft simulator and see how their lists are looking. Obviously, pretty easy in goal. Hellebuck's protected. Brossoit will be exposed, but they do need to have another goalie exposed here. And they actually have two goalies that meet the criteria that are complained to minors, Cole Kenner and Mikhail Burdin. Brossoit can be a UFA. He doesn't have to be signed to meet that requirement. On the blue line, they only need to have one defenseman signed for next year. We have multiple. So to me, I think after what we saw from Logan Stanley in the playoffs, I don't think they can risk losing him. I mean, he provides a lot of size and strength back there. Like he was a tower in the playoffs. And of course, Morrissey and Pionk, your top two guys. So I think with the emergence of Stanley, I think you have to expose DeMello in this case. And I don't think the Jets are a team that can really afford to go with 8 skaters. Because if you look at the forward group, you've got Wheeler, Connor, Scheifele, Ehlers. Those are your top 4 forwards. But then you're exposing Dubois, Lowry, Kopp, like guys that you don't want to lose. I'd rather lose DeMello than one of those guys if I'm Winnipeg. So to me, they definitely go 7-3-1. I have no doubt. And I think you have to expose DeMello because of the emergence of Stanley. So up front, though, obviously, like I said, you got the top 4, then you got Dubois, Lowry, and Kopp are likely your 7 guys. I mean, Appleton is a guy you would prefer not to lose. But if you protect him, you're going to have to give up either Lowry or Kopp. And I don't really think you want to do that either. To me, I think you want to sign Andrew Kopp to a decent multi-year deal here. You just signed Lowry not long ago. He's under contract now to 2026. So I think Appleton is going to be on the exposed list along with Harkins and obviously some of these other guys here that are, more minor league players for them. Toninato as well was another player recently signed to be exposed. So you're going to have these forwards with Appleton being the most appealing. Then you're going to have DeMello as being the most likely defenseman, along with Nathan Beaulieu and maybe even, a guy like Niku or Pullman could be available too if they want to negotiate a contract with one of them. But to me, based on what's here, I think Mason Appleton ends up being the pick. I mean, he's 25. He's an RFA. He's not going to cost a lot to get signed. He's, he has a good game. He's really grown a lot in the last couple of years as compared to getting a 28-year-old defenseman. Yes, he's a good defenseman, pretty steady back there, under contract at $3 million for another few years. DeMello is a tempting piece there too. I'm not sure. I think they go Appleton because he's younger and they're going to have so many defensemen to pick from that this might be an opportunity to grab a good young forward who could take on a bigger role. But either way, they're going to lose a depth piece that they're not necessarily really wanting to here. They may even make a side deal with the Kraken to maybe protect an extra player. I'm not sure how they're going to go about it here, but to me, the Jets blue line cannot really afford any more losses given what it's gone through in the last couple of years. So if they can hang on to DeMello and have them take Appleton instead, as much as that hurts, to me, it's a better of the two possibilities here. That blue line can't afford to get any weaker. So that is my deep dive analysis on the Canucks, Flyers, and Jets. Of course, I want to know your thoughts down below, what you think these teams are going to end up doing. Do you see any trades happening ahead of time? What players do you think are most likely going to be exposed and ultimately selected by the Seattle Kraken? If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the latest news and rumors on all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.